So I had a couple conversations this week with colleagues about how they got into teaching, and it's always a fascinating conversation because I think that when we see each other walking down the halls and we pass each other holding our technology and our handouts and pushing the LCD cart, I don't know if we really see each other. And I've had other thoughts about this, whether the students actually see each other. Do we see backstory? Do we see back culture? Do we see true selves walking in the hallway? So I got caught in a conversation and decided to stay in the conversation because it started to center around what we do when we're not teaching and what we did before teaching. So a colleague that I worked with knew that I taught foods at school, but they really didn't know the entire backstory. So in the spirit of that, and I think also because I've told this story, really I feel so many times to colleagues if they ask, what did you do before teaching, that I thought, I think I want to lay it out. I think I want to record it so that I can see myself telling this story. It's a weird episode of my life. It seems like a captured episode from my life that I've never seen from the outside, and I've just thought I would lay it down and I'll post it as the vlog and use it to review in the future. So here it goes. I've been teaching what I think for sort of a short amount of time, I guess formally. So I started teaching in 2005. So that's just over the 10-year mark. And prior to that moment of starting to teach, I pretty much had spent, it's going to see since about 1986 up to that point, working primarily in hospitality. And it culminated with me getting my chef papers. So if you go way back, basically me starting to work in the restaurant business because, quite honestly, because I wanted to buy a bicycle. And because I wanted to buy a bicycle, I thought I should ask my parents for the money. And because I asked my parents for the money, I was told quite flat out, there is no money for you to buy a bicycle. So I plotted a way to get that bicycle, and that led me to getting a job in a restaurant as a busboy, which then led to another job as a prep cook, which then led to dishwasher and led to cook and led to server and led to bartender and led to cook and then led back to server and then led to me getting my chef paper, so signing up for an apprenticeship and formally getting my trade papers. Now, the time between 1985 through 1989 was high school, and then when I went to university, I spent as much time working in restaurants as I did in my classes, for better and for worse. But it was funny, the drive to work in restaurants was so ingrained in me from high school, and the philosophy of work, where working in the restaurant to me felt like real life, and school was the other thing that I did. Whereas I had some friends that working at school was their focus, and I heard at least one or two teachers say to me, your job right now is school. And I can remember at least on one occasion to a history teacher I said, no, my job right now is actually working at a restaurant called O'Toole's, and I have 3 shifts this weekend. One of them I'm going to be one of the supervisors. So yeah, real life, or my real work, my real job was not completing that history essay. It was making sure that there was enough romaine chopped, that the meats had been sliced, that the kitchen was cleaned, and that we closed on time so that the managers were happy. So to that end, all through high school, I was balancing work, school, life. When I hit university, it served me well because just financial reasons, I wanted independence from my family and I wanted just my own agency. So I kept on working while I was in university. And often this meant compromising the course load I could carry, and I had to go part-time, and I did fail courses, and I did have to say I can't do this assignment to the extent that I think everybody else wants me to do it, because I got 5 shifts in a row, and that's going to pay the rent, and that's going to pay for my car, and that's going to pay the bills. So lived through that all through university, and I worked at several different establishments when I was at university. Decided to go traveling after university. By the way, my degree is in theater and drama, so at the same time I was bartending and cooking. So then went traveling, and when I traveled out west, I did tree planting, I got a snowboard instructor certification, and I worked out in Jasper for a season. I was also working there in one of the chalets, and I was also doing caretaking, which meant I was able to live on the mountain. Sweet life, to live on a mountain in Alberta, and snowboard, and to snowboard instruction. That was awesome. Came back to Ontario, started my formal, so I came back to Ontario, gosh, it must have been around 1995, I guess. 1995, I came back to Ontario after being away, 95, 96, being away for a year. Signed up into an apprenticeship working in an Italian restaurant, which was phenomenal. And that kind of started the whole ball rolling of, now that I'm not doing school formally, university, post-secondary, again, need to pay the bills, need to pay for my car, need to pay for stuff. So got my apprenticeship done, and I guess apprenticed in Italian cuisine. And that was when I moved to Toronto and thought to get into the bigger game of hospitality, and ended up working with Baton Rouge restaurants right in downtown for several years. And it was right around 2004, that the big decision kind of came up. And the big decision was between my partner and myself. And the conversation went a little bit something like this. I was at a point in my career in hospitality where I really either had to branch out on my own, I had to buy in, or go with them to they were going down to the States. And all of those were possibilities. Now, at that time, my partner had already transitioned into teaching. So there was a certain stability to our lives where I was bringing in sort of like the bonus-based cash hospitality money, but that was up and down a little bit. And my partner was working in education. So the conversation went a little something like this. What are you going to do next, Chris? I'm not sure. Is there anything else that you would like to do within hospitality? I'm not sure. And then the kind of curveball was, are we going to start a family together? And that really got me thinking about the future and the type of work that I wanted to do in the future. And it was also at that point in our relationship where that all of a sudden became absolutely the number one thing of importance to me. Yes, I wanted to start a family. And then the next statement after that was from my partner saying, well, if we are going to start a family, which there was no pressure for us to start a family, but my partner said, if we are going to start a family, then you're going to have to make some changes with your career, because my partner quite clearly said, I'm not prepared to be a single parent. Now, the thing about hospitality is that it takes a lot of input. A lot of input can take 95% of your life. You're deregulated from pretty much every celebration, because one of the phrases is, while the public gets to party, we're working, because that's when they tend to come to places like restaurants, right? So I had to make some changes, and I was kind of at a loss, because it was like I had painted myself into the corner, and I didn't really know what my next step could be, and there was no clear step that it could be. And my partner just kind of off the cuff said, what about teaching? And my initial reaction was like, oh. And it kind of settled in, and I started to think about it, and it was in that moment, it's like from those TV shows, that sudden aha moment that the character has, and it starts going through flashback photos, flashback videos. There's a face from the past, and an event from the past, and it was like I was watching my life from some point in the past up to now, and that statement being made, and I started to isolate, it did it all on its own, these moments in time where I had been doing bits of teaching along the way. So in high school, I was doing performance and doing leadership things within the theater group that our school had. Did a lot of writing then, going into university. With the drama department, I did teacher's assistant, so TAing. I was running the construction shop for the drama department for a spell. When I was at the restaurant, I was always immersed in training new staff. When I went out west and I was doing the caretaking at the ski hill, I was also doing snowboard instruction. And then, you know, right up to the present time when sort of like this film reel is getting closer and closer to the present, I started to think about my last stop working with Baton Rouge restaurants. And as the kitchen manager, I was constantly in training mode, constantly in manual writing mode, constantly tweaking the support systems that helped run the restaurant. And I kind of came right up into the present, and it was an aha moment. I was like, yeah, I guess I could go into teaching. And often when I'm presented with that, the question is around, well, why didn't you take the other route then? I get it, you want to start a family, but couldn't you have done that as well? And I guess in that moment, I just realized that I actually did want change, and it was like a window was open and a breath of fresh air came in when the suggestion out of nowhere to start teaching became an idea, and then that idea became a plan, and then that plan became possible, and then it became plausible because I applied and I got into Teachers College. And I was fortunate that I came into teaching just at a time where they were looking for tech teachers. So yeah, I became a tech teacher, and I guess I still am a tech teacher. My current role is not in technologies, but right now I entirely owe my hospitality kind of path up to this point. And yes, when I switched over from hospitality to teaching, it was less money. And yes, there was a little bit of an adrenaline junkie in me that kind of, you know, got a little sad, because I even now think about Friday nights line up out the door, that team organizational thing of, we got to make it through tonight, we have a lot of resis, let's get rolling. It's kind of in my DNA, probably hardwired into it at this point. What I'm really happy, I made the change, and I'm really happy that I trusted my partner's counsel, and I'm really happy that the changes that happened, which include a great job in a great town, and I have a great family, and I thoroughly love the fact that my path to teaching in some ways is atypical, because it's still a surprise every day when I really think about what I do. I still get thrilled at the fact that I get to work with young people and help them make life choices. And I find I just wait for someone to ask me about my backstory, because, you know, I think it offers a lot. You know, even as I say it now, I get a bit of a smile, but it offers a lot of sort of incentive to thinking about your career in such a broader context than just the essay that's in front of you, the exams that are coming up, the town that you live in, and the expectations, or let's say sometimes barriers we put on ourselves when we start to say things like, oh, well, I could never do that. And yeah, I'm loving it. Looking forward to the next 10 years. Don't know what my next sort of angle will be within teaching, but that's a condensed version of my path to teaching. All right, thanks.